Next on Currents News, a church that dates back to the Civil War, living history crumbling in Tennessee. But one man has a plan.
This whole entire wall is leaning south.
With his own hands, he believes he can restore the past. And breaking news, the coronavirus outbreak is officially a pandemic.
We have rung the alarm bell loud and clear.
WHO warning the virus will likely spread to all countries on the globe.
This Brooklyn shop does more than print shirts. It's helping to put young men on a path to success. And a Brooklyn priest is leading the way. I'm Tim Harfman, and that story is coming up.
And Catholic Joe Biden steamrolling toward the Democratic presidential nomination. What that means to voters of faith. Can they trust him to uphold their values? The news starts right now.
I was afraid the church was going to collapse.
This Nashville pastor now knows tornadoes have no regard for man-made buildings, not even if it's the house of God. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. Natural disasters have no sense of holiness or history, the beautiful or the sacred. All those things were lost March 3rd when a tornado ripped through Nashville, Tennessee. But Currents News' Emily Drewby is here with us now to tell the story of one parish that dates back to the Civil War, where parishioners are picking up the pieces of the past.
That's right, Christine. The Church of the Assumption is one of the oldest in Nashville, drawing parishioners from all over the city. But now, instead of a welcome sign, there's a warning on the doors.
It's kind of shocking to see these signs on these doors that simply says, danger, do not enter, keep away. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
A difficult sight for parishioner Mark Hasman, who just days prior to the storm had celebrated Mass in these pews.
This whole entire wall is leaning south.
This second oldest Catholic church in Nashville was ravaged by the Tennessee tornadoes. The wall is separated from the roof. The stained glass windows are blown out. A light peeks into the sacristy through a hole in the brick, and the massive steeple is leaning to one side.
All the vestments had been blown out of the cabinets and were just like in heaps around the room, and there was dust everywhere. I was afraid the church was going to collapse. So we took the Blessed Sacrament over to the rectory.
The pastor, Father Bede Price, and others risked their lives to save the religious art and artifacts from the unstable church.
We have to separate the tree debris from the trash.
In the wake of the storm, another hero is stepping up, Mark Hasman. His family has been part of the parish for about 10 years.
I showed up to be an extra set of hands, and I saw that there was nobody really leading the effort, so I just kind of stepped up and took it.
Donating his time to serve as a point person.
A lot of people from Hands on Nashville.
Get the word out on social media and organize volunteers. While the future of the church is uncertain, Mark says one thing is for sure, the tenacity of their community.
The faith is lived out by the people, and to see this community come together like this, it's really amazing. It's inspiring and it's comforting to know that in dark times you still have family here that'll take care of you.
Assessments are still underway, but they're looking at possibly 2 years before they can get back into the building. One of the more difficult aspects of this situation is the history that was lost here. The church has been around since 1859. It was built to inspire German settlers to come to the area, and it included bricks from the very first church ever built in Nashville. Christine.
Wow, Emily, this seems expensive. How is the parish paying for these repairs?
Well, Christine, Father Price was telling us that because the building is so old and so historic, it's not like they can just go to Lowe's to pick up a lot of these pieces. Luckily, insurance is covering a lot of it, but it is going to be very expensive, and the church is looking for any help they can get.
All right, thanks, Emily. And anyone interested in donating can visit their website at AssumptionChurchNashville.org, and there's a tab for online giving. Stay with Currents News for more of Emily's exclusive coverage from Nashville, including a story of survival as volunteers spring into action. Be sure to keep watching. And tonight, coronavirus is getting larger by the moment. It has now been declared a global pandemic.
We expect to see the number of cases, the number of deaths, and the number of affected countries climb even higher. WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction.
The World Health Organization making that declaration today, an action they had been reluctant to take. Declaring a pandemic almost always has major political and economic ramifications. About 24 new cases are being confirmed in New York State alone today, and Governor Andrew Cuomo is alerting everyone the total is certain to increase.
We test around the clock now, so the number constantly adjusts, but it is constantly going up, and that shouldn't give people alarm. The virus has actually spread much, much more than we know because we have been so slow on testing in this country.
Nearly 200 New Yorkers have tested positive for the disease. Cuomo is pressing business leaders to let employees work from home to cut down on the spread of the disease. And there won't be any bagpipes or drums up Fifth Avenue this St. Patrick's Day. The famous parade through New York City has been canceled for the first time in more than 250 years. Chicago, Boston, and Dublin already canceled their parades amid concerns over the spread of the virus. The coronavirus is even having an impact on the presidential race. The candidates forced to cancel events as they come off of Super Tuesday 2. This scene from Detroit earlier this week won't be replicated in Ohio, thanks to the coronavirus.
The governor of Ohio asked the presidential campaigns to cancel their indoor public events in Cleveland with large crowds of people. And that's what we did due to the coronavirus.
Both Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders had to call off rallies planned for Cleveland.
The last thing in the world we will ever want to do is put anybody in danger.
As the novel coronavirus impacts the United States, both campaigns are taking action and say they can lead in times of crisis as commander-in-chief.
This whole coronavirus issue is a matter of presidential leadership.
Biden hopes he gets the chance to lead the country. Right now, he leads the delegate count after winning primaries on Super Tuesday 2 in 4 out of 6 states.
This campaign is taking off, and I believe we're going to do well from this point on.
But Sanders is not backing down, announcing today that he is staying in the race despite yesterday's losses.
Poll after poll, including exit polls, show that a strong majority of the American people support our progressive agenda.
He believes that agenda will help him beat President Donald Trump in November.
Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in the modern history of our country, and he must be defeated.
And Biden is calling for unity to do just that.
I want to thank Bernie Sanders and his supporters for their tireless energy and their passion. We share a common goal, and together we'll defeat Donald Trump. We'll defeat him together.
Sanders says he's looking forward to the next debate, which is this Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona. It will be held without a live audience. And as the 2020 presidential season narrows down, Catholic voters will have to decide just who they want to carry their torch. And both sides of the aisle are trying to appeal to people of faith. Here to tell us more is Christopher White, the national correspondent for The Tablet and Crux. Christopher, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Christine.
President Trump recently announced he will launch a Catholics for Trump coalition. Why the sudden push for the faith vote?
Well, I mean, Catholics are a huge contingent of the American population, and traditionally, if you want to win the office of the president, you need Catholics on your side. Just the demographics have always sort of shifted in that favor. Now, the Catholics for Trump rally, is a coalition. It is not an officially sponsored event, and the Archbishop of Milwaukee said today, let's be clear about that.
All right. And now Catholics are interesting. We could sway any election if we voted as a bloc, right. But we don't necessarily do that.
That's a big if and a caveat. I mean, Catholics reflect the general makeup of the American population, and so they're just as divided in the pews as the rest of the country.
All right, and earlier we said that Biden had some big wins last night, making him the more likely candidate for the Democratic nomination. So in an election between Biden, who has spoken about his Catholic faith in the past, versus Trump, where do you see Catholics leaning?
Well, white American Catholics in general tend to be pretty favorable toward Trump, whereas he's still continually struggled to win over Hispanic Catholics. And that really is the growing demographic within the Catholic Church in this country that has continually sort of boosted numbers in the U.S., and that is also a population that the president has struggled to win over consistently.
All right, now what lies ahead for the election? Is there any chance Bernie can come back?
Well, I mean, at this point, it is, it seems pretty obvious that Biden is the presumptive nominee. Bernie has said he's not going down without a fight. So how much that causes continued divisions within the Democratic Party and how long that goes on remains to be seen. For the Catholic side of things, of course, the Catholics for Trump contingent can go ahead and make its plans, but however the Catholics for Biden or Bernie shakes out, that will lead to all sorts of variables until there is a clear presumptive nominee in place.
And recently, Bernie Sanders announced his abortion plan. He wants it to be available nationwide and more available to women out there. So that could really hurt him as far as the Catholic vote.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie has been very upfront about saying abortion is health care, and he believes in that, whereas Biden has taken a more nuanced view. He said before that he's privately opposed to abortion as a Catholic, but publicly, that's something he doesn't want to sort of interfere with. So with Biden, you get a bit more nuanced take.
All right, the national correspondent for The Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, thank you so much for being here. The April 15th tax deadline could be pushed back as Americans cope with the coronavirus. The White House is reportedly considering an extension of this year's tax season. There are concerns the IRS could be hampered in providing taxpayer assistance and processing returns. Nothing is official yet. We will keep you up to date on all developments. The virus forced Pope Francis to conduct his audience this morning inside the Apostolic Library. The weekly event normally attracts thousands of pilgrims to St. Peter's Square, but that site has been shut down by Italian police to prevent crowds from gathering. The Holy Father, surrounded by clergy, thanked medical personnel and volunteers for helping the sick. At his private mass before the audience, Francis offered prayers for prisoners in jail as Italy is locked down.
In modo speciale vorrei pregare per I carcerati, per I nostri fratelli e le nostre sorelle rinchiusi in carcere. Loro soffrono e dobbiamo essere vicini a loro con la preghiera, perché il Signore li aiuti, li consoli in questo momento difficile.
Inmates are angry over restrictions on family visits. The riots in the overcrowded prisons have left at least 12 people dead. And the verdict is in for Harvey Weinstein. He will likely die behind bars. The disgraced 67-year-old movie producer received his 23-year sentence today in a Manhattan court for raping a woman and sexually assaulting another. Weinstein also faces charges of rape and assault in California. When we come back tonight, a T-shirt shop grows in Brooklyn, and it's bringing hope to young lives that might otherwise be in trouble. Meet the priest that's silk screening and leaving. Plus, do you know everything you need to know about the coronavirus? We'll tell you how to get the latest updates from your child's Catholic school. And Italy is still on lockdown, all things spelling out a deep recession for the country. We have an exclusive look into business there. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. You know the saying, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Well, one priest in Brooklyn is making sure troubled teens are keeping themselves busy and out of trouble. Father Jim O'Shea has now made it his mission to make sure some young men do not travel down the wrong path. By teaching them T-shirt printing, he's imprinting on them important job skills that ensure they can have a brighter future. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports from Bedford-Stuyvesant.
C.J. McCoy is one of many pressing and printing his way to success.
This is a start for anybody who haven't been on the right track or who's haven't had the right guidance.
He works at Reconnect Brooklyn, which helps men ages 17 to 24 keep busy and out of trouble. A priest, Father Jim O'Shea, founded the nonprofit nearly a decade ago.
It started essentially to try to figure out a way to work with young people who were good young people who were getting involved with negative activities.
The Passionist made it his mission to instill values through Reconnect Brooklyn. Located in Bedford-Stuyvesant, young men work 20 hours a week for 3 months and receive regular evaluations. The hope? This art crafts their future.
This gave me like a place to start to get a feel for everything, and so I just get out there more and do what I have to do.
Father Jim says more than 200 men have gone through the program in the last decade. There's a 90% graduation rate. Over 85% of alums are still employed. Edwin LaChapelle is one of them.
It helped me learn responsibility, also helped me finish school because his mentorship is phenomenal.
The 24-year-old earned his high school degree and landed jobs in both security and fitness.
I could have just easily got into trouble and did certain things. It just molded me into the young man I became.
Reconnect Brooklyn is now looking for a bigger space to impact more lives. In Bedford-Stuyvesant, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Turning back now to coronavirus, its rapid spread could potentially ground the Pope's travel plans. A Vatican representative is confirming that Francis is pulling back on a proposed trip to East Timor, citing concerns that large crowds could spread the virus. The Vatican never officially confirmed this trip, but an official visit to Malta in late May could also be canceled because of barred air traffic. Italy's lockdown is spelling a deep recession for the economy there. Outside the Vatican, businesses that usually profit from tourists are struggling. Melissa Butts has that story from an empty St. Peter's Square.
With 60 million Italians being under quarantine, the usually busy time of Lent is being lived differently here at St. Peter's. But the businesses surrounding the Vatican are already saying on day 2 they're feeling the negative effects of the lockdown. This street leading up to St. Peter's Square is normally full of pilgrims. Now few remain with the Vatican closed until at least April 3rd.
It's a very dramatic moment for all businesses and obviously for tourism. We're all realizing now how fundamental tourism is for our economy.
Emmanuel's store sells religious items, but he says on this day 2 of the lockdown, they have sold nothing.
We're all losing money, but we're open in hopes that a few people pass by.
Sen also is hoping for pilgrims to visit his tourist stand right in front of St. Peter's. After 20 years, he now has 63 of them all around Rome. He says this is the first time he will close.
Today I see that no people, tomorrow I am not coming here. Because which people we are working? We are working with the tourists.
Many tourists in the country are looking to leave as soon as possible, but flights are also being canceled. Grocery stores, pharmacies, and some restaurants are remaining open, allowing a few people to come in at a time. Workers at these locations have masks and gloves, but not many customers, as most Italians are following the rules and remaining inside. Each year, the Vatican attracts millions of tourists, especially in the time leading up to Easter, which this year is on April 12th. However, amidst the lockdown, there are rising concerns that the lockdown could affect this religious holiday, especially if coronavirus numbers do not go down. At the Vatican, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
The Diocese of Dallas is offering a different approach to keeping Catholics safe from the coronavirus. They suggest saying the Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be while you wash your hands as a way to make sure you're cleansing them long enough. The 3 prayers together make up the 30 to 45 seconds required by health authorities. The diocese explains clean hands are lifesavers and prayers save souls. Still to come on Currents News, a look into this week's tablet. Everything you need to know about the new global pandemic in one place. And a mother who says her child was saved by God. The The newest edition of The Tablet is out, and there are some stories you don't want to miss. Reporters dug deep into the coronavirus pandemic, and there's a profile of a cartoonist who draws his inspiration from Christ. The Tablet's editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, is here now with a preview. Jorge, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the coronavirus. Several universities in our area have decided to have classes online, so they don't have kids on campus. But Catholic academies in the Brooklyn Diocese are still open. Now, there's an article in The Tablet that lists precautions the schools are taking. What are some of them?
Well, the diocese wants everybody to know, the employees and the parents, that the diocese is doing everything possible to keep everybody safe. For example, if anybody goes overseas, when they come back, they have to get medical clearance to go back to school. There are other tips. You can read all of them in the tablet.
All right. It's what everybody's been talking about. A lot of people are concerned about going in public places, and they're concerned even about going to Mass.
Oh, yes, and we also have in this edition, the diocese guidelines about how to behave in Mass and what to do to stay safe. You have to read the tablet. But in addition to that, this is a changing situation. So if you go to our website, you can get all the updated information and all the diocese guidelines about Masses.
Yes, let's tell everyone about that. Just go to thetablet.org/coronavirus for all the up-to-date information. There's also a really interesting centerfold story in the tablet about a cartoonist. Tell us a little bit about what makes him so special.
It is funny, right? This artist, he says that he expresses his relationship with Christ through humor. Wow. And if you go to the tablet, you're going to see some of his cartoons and how he started drawing. I mean, it's pretty funny. You have to check it out.
Oh, I love it. All right, the Tablet's editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Christine.
And the Tablet is so important. It is vital for all Catholics living in the Brooklyn Diocese. But the Tablet needs you to ensure Catholic journalism's future is strong. You can do so by purchasing the paper at your parish or by subscribing to the Tablet so it comes right to your mailbox. You'll save up to 55% by having it delivered to your home versus paying for it at church. Go to the website, thetablet.org/home55 or call 877-883-8356. And finally tonight, a mom says God was watching out for her toddler when she made a great escape from a deadly situation. A massive pine tree had split over Caitlin Bauman's home in North Carolina, landing on her 2-year-old daughter, Bailey. The child momentarily stopped breathing until more than 60 first responders arrived and lifted the tree off of her. Caitlin is thankful to the Lord for giving her the gift of life.
She's a walking miracle. God is real. God is what saved her. I'm just glad my daughter's alive. I can replace my home, but I can't replace her life.
Wow, the family will be staying with relatives as they look for a new home. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.